Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors is facing backlash after a New York Post report revealed that she spent $3.4 million buying real estate over the past 5 years. Cullors, who describes herself as a Marxist, dishes out more than $1.4 million last month for a 2,370 square foot home in Los Angeles, according to real estate website Dirt.com, quote unquote. The home features a detached apartment capable of hosting guests long-term, with a private entry and a living room with a kitchenette. Wait for it. It's not even the worst part. The new home is one of 3 properties Cullors and her spouse Jania Khan, I don't know how to pronounce her name, anyway, I don't care, have purchased in the Los Angeles area since 2016. The couple also bought a 3.2-acre custom ranch in Georgia last year, including an airplane hangar and access to 2,500 square foot runway per the New York Post. Wow. Amazing. What is she gonna do with an airplane hangar? You guys, if you know or have any idea on what she will do with that, please leave that in the comments below. That's gonna be funny. Anyway, Holt Newsom, the head of Black Lives Matter of Greater New York, is calling for an investigation into Cullors' real estate spending. The National Black Lives Matter organization has previously said Newsom and his local BLM chapters are not affiliated with the national organization, but that hasn't stopped Newsom from publicly criticizing Cullors' latest financial choices. He said, quote unquote, "If you go around calling yourself a socialist, you have to ask how much of her own personal money is going to charitable causes. It's really sad because it makes people doubt the validity of the movement and overlook the fact that it's the people that carry this movement," he told to the New York Post. In light of Cullors' real estate investments, many social justice advocates, or as I like to call them, SJWs, are voicing their concerns on social media, often comparing Cullors' apparently lavish lifestyle to the experiences of activists on the ground. Vallejo here, for racial justice, said, "We're talking generational wealth off of the debts and struggle of Black folks here." Justice Team's network and BLM founder paid $1.4 million for a home. This past week, we bought a cot for our unhoused Black elder friend to keep him off the ground. NGO on Go. Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors has purchased a $1.4 million home in a wealthy, secluded area of Los Angeles. Cullors identifies as a communist and advocates for the abolishment of capitalism. How ironic. Paul Joseph Watson says Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Khan-Cullors has chosen to live in one of the whitest areas of California after purchasing a $1.4 million home in an area that has Black population of just 1.6%. So basically empower Black people and shout in the streets and tell them to riot and loot and burn their own poor neighborhoods. But just as long as you live away from them, as long as you go and live in your $1 million mansions in white neighborhoods. Amazing, Patrisse Cullors. Good job. Ashley Yates says, "The problem isn't with an activist having a house over $1 million. It's true, it's not a problem. I don't care. I'm a capitalist. Have as much money as you want. Have a pricey home of $10 million, of $1 billion if you want to. I don't care. It's with the actual activists, the ones that drive and sacrifice and move, being left out in the cold, while figureheads with little community ties and less actual work sit pretty." So I guess people are starting to open their eyes and know her for who she really is. This is not the first time financial decisions have created turbulence for the National Black Lives Matter organization and its leadership. Late last year, a group of local BLM chapters wrote an open letter accusing the National BLM organization of withholding financial resources from its local chapters. Interesting. I don't know where that money went. That same letter took issue with Patrisse Cullors becoming executive director of Black Lives Matter National's operation, saying the decision was made against the will of most chapters. Basically, her own people, the other BLM chapters, are worried she should not be director. Oh, actually didn't want her to be director. The National Black Lives Matter organization says it raised approximately $90 million last year and that Patrisse Cullors has not received any money from the organization since 2019. Or really, what about before that? The organization supports the movement to defund the police and previously featured several radical missions on its website, including a commitment to disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family. Oh well, I guess we're now discovering what their real agenda is, or I don't know if those BLM activists and leaders who are out to disrupt the nuclear family know this. Well, it's one of two. It's either they know and don't care, which means they are evil, or they don't know, which means they are ignorant about the very cause that they are speaking for. But here's the thing. Children raised by single mothers are more likely to fare worse on a number of dimensions, including their school achievement, their social and emotional development, their health, and their success in the labor market. They are at greater risk of parental abuse and neglect, especially from live-in boyfriends who are not their biological fathers, more likely to become teen parents, and less likely to graduate from high school or college. As a side note here, not all children raised in a single-parent family suffer these adverse outcomes. It is simply that the risks are much greater for them. But why are the children of divorced or unwed parents at greater risk of experiencing poor outcomes? Well, there are a number of possibilities, and actually, racism isn't one of them. The one possibility is that children in two-parent families do better because of the increased resources available to them. It's normal, single parents only have one income coming into the house. On top of that, single parents often have to spend a greater proportion of their income on childcare because they do not have a co-parent to stay home with the child while they work. Even beyond having more income, two parents also have more time to spend with the child. A recent study by Richard Reeves and Kimberly Howard finds that parenting skills vary across demographic groups and that 44% of single mothers fall into the weakest category and only 3% in the strongest category. Keep in mind that 75% of Black families are a single-parent household. The weak parenting skills found among single parents in the study may be related not only to the lack of a second parent, but to the lack of income and education as well. Education in particular stands out as a more critical factor in explaining poor parenting. Another possibility is that children born to unmarried mothers face more instability in family structure, and that this instability results in worse outcome for the kid. In recent years, the focus of social science research has been less on the absence of a father and more on the family instability. Stable single-parent families in which a child does not experience the constant comings and goings of new boyfriends or girlfriends or the addition of new half-siblings have begun to look like a better environment for the kids. What can save you and at least keep you from having a child that ends up violent, that ends up committing crimes, that ends up hurting other people, or a dropout, or all those bad things that can happen to kids, is to have a strong nuclear family, is to have two parents in the house, a mom and a dad, and to have them take care of the kids. Look, this information is readily available online. These studies are available. If I could find it with a simple research, I'm sure Black Lives Matter leaders can. Why are they talking about these issues? Even former President Barack Obama has spoken about this, and he said,
"When fathers are absent, when they abandon their responsibilities to their children, we know the damage that that does to our families." Some of you know the statistics. Children who grow up without fathers are more likely to drop out of school and wind up in prison. They're more likely to have substance abuse problems, run away from home, and become teenage parents themselves.
Black Lives Matter doesn't really care about Black people. They're just using all the Black people who died at the hands of the police and fronting them to gain activists who riot and destroy and burn cities so that they get the attention that they want from the media in order to get paid, basically. No money was used to help the families of those people. It's a shame. In fact, this is what Patrisse has said about that issue. "I do understand the need for resources. I understand why people expect that from us. But I think it's important that people recognize that there are other places that they can also get grants. There are other places that they can get resources. You go up, you talk about Black people, you create Black Lives Matter movement to empower Black people, and then when people believe in you, donate to you so that you can help and empower the Black community, you tell them to basically, pardon my French, go F themselves. You tell them to just get the money elsewhere. Are you serious? She said again, "We aren't the government, we are an organization that has always fought for Black lives and we will always fight for Black lives. I'm hoping that in this deal, I'm going to be able to further the work I've been doing in these really powerful spaces." When it was announced that Black Lives Matter received $90 million in funding after the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, many called on the organization for money, including the father of Mike Brown Jr. And here's what she said, quote unquote, "We're not a charity, we are a power-building body, and so it's important that people understand the difference." If you haven't understood by now that this lady who started the Black Lives Matter movement is just another power-hungry wolf in sheep's clothing, then I don't know what to tell you. Now let's see if her claims of Black Lives Matter not being a charity are true or not. A PayPal spokesperson told BuzzFeed News that the Black Lives Matter Foundation had been added to its Giving Fund database because it was an IRS-registered charity. They called the addition a unique situation because the Black Lives Matter name hadn't been trademarked. And then Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella and Dropbox CEO Drew Houston listed the Black Lives Matter Foundation as a charity approved by their companies, though both linked to the website for the actual movement. Clearly, the Black Lives Matter movement gets lots and lots of donation, and I'm pretty sure most donors aren't giving money to Black Lives Matter to fund Patrisse's real estate investment bitch, but rather to help Black people who are suffering from poverty, father absence, and other problems. Did any of the families of Black folks shot by the police get any of that money? Now that we have established that Black Lives Matter is not about helping Black folks, let's dig deeper and see what their real agenda is. The letter from the local chapters takes further issue with Patrisse Cullors becoming executive director of Black Lives Matter, saying the decision was made against the will of most chapters. Cullors, who co-founded the National Black Lives Matter organization, infamously described herself and fellow co-founder Alicia Garza, I don't know how to pronounce that name, and I don't care, as trained Marxist in 2015. Trained Marxist? What is that? What does that even mean? They teach you how to make Molotov cocktails? Like Cullors, some chapters also have a history of making anti-capitalist comments and pledges. The Black Lives Matter DC website calls to abolish systems and institutions of capitalism, or basically system and institutions of capitalism. That's the whole USA. That's most of the Western world. Black Lives Matter Chicago makes a similar commitment on its website, saying it aims to deconstruct white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. If you're a Marxist, no problem at all spending money on a nice house. The biggest problem is leading people to feel like a victim, developing anger and bitterness in them instead of uplifting them and teaching them to become better than they think they can be, teaching them anger and violence, and telling them to riot and burn down cities instead of self-respect and responsibility. She made her money off the back of victimization and hatred, and that's what I don't like. Here's Breonna Taylor's mom calling BLM what they are: frauds. I think whoever claims that they want to empower Black people have to tell them what they need to hear, which is 75% of Black families are without a father. If you want to help Black people and empower them, preach about the necessity of being there for your kids as a man so that they don't end up resentful and vengeful on the whole society like Patrisse Cullors is. But sorry, Missy, it's not the reason to want to burn down the whole country. Oh, but wait, shush. No, don't say that. She's a Black female. You're not allowed to question anything she does as a leader of the Black Lives Matter. If you do that, it makes you a racist and a sexist. How convenient for her.